Thank you so much for joining. For the people standing, we have a lot of spaces free in the front. Feel free to sit down, or if you're in the back, you can also come a bit to the front if you'd like. Today we are here for the lunch lecture of EGM architecten. And Roemer is here to tell you something more about it, so I'll give the floor to him.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Roemer Pierik. I'm a partner architect at EGM Architects. Today I wanted to show you some of our projects with an emphasis on architectural detailing. Our office is in Dordrecht. You might have heard of our firm, but I thought to show you a few projects that we are working on or have worked on. At the moment we're working on the extension of Eindhoven Airport with our firm. It's currently being built. We've done the Erasmus Medical Hospital in Rotterdam at the bottom in the middle. Currently we're also building the Dutch Embassy in Ankara in Turkey at the right bottom. And we have recently finished the Phoenix Museum, which I would like to show you a little bit about. But before I do, I have 3 projects which I brought from small to medium to large, sort of in a way. This is the first project. It's Morelse Park. It's a national monument, and we were asked to do a full restoration and to build a meeting center and offices in the first floors. You see here, it's an ensemble, which is a national monument. This used to be owned by the Dutch railway systems. And now it's currently on the right side. The building is the one I want to show you. This one on the right. It's owned by ASR. And we were asked to transform the building into a meeting center and office building. This is the building as it was originally. On the right side, you see some of the spaces. Not very nice, completely without any attention. It has gone through many changes over the years, and we were asked to basically transform it into something new and fresh. The concept was that we wanted to add a new branch, and we sort of wanted to graft new roots onto the old building. That's sort of the idea that we wanted to do. This is actually an image of the new entrance. And the concept was that it's a square building with a patio in the middle. And there was very limited daylight in the building, especially in the basement. So what we've done is we have opened up on the left and on the right side the floors to get daylight down to the souterrain. And we've also removed the existing staircases in this area to get light down to emphasize the connection between the ground floor and the -1. And we fully did complete new installations. And in the end, the building got actually the Paris Proof label, which we're quite proud of to get that for this building. And I wanted to show you some images. This is the underground area. So we took the stair out, the old stair. This used to be completely closed. Now you come down, and we basically made a meeting center on the -1 level. This is the ground floor and first floor. So essentially, it's an office building with a meeting center. And you have to imagine it's a beautiful old building, but you couldn't find your way through it. So we brought in new light and new finishes. And here you see what we've done. This is on the left side. This used to be closed, so you wouldn't see this. This was actually the basement, and we opened the floor and brought the daylight in. So actually you are on the left side here, you see the -1 area where now the meeting center is. And on the right side, you see the new stair we brought in from the ground floor down to the -1. This is at the bottom how it used to be in the basement. And on the top, you see now how it is in the basement. We made this central sort of small plaza where you can get yourself a coffee and something to drink and something to eat. And from there on, you continue to your meeting center. There's a reception. So when you walk into the building, you go down this new stair, you enter into the center square. That's where you get yourself a coffee, and then you continue to your meeting rooms. These are some images of the spaces around. Here you see the corridor around, and here you see some interiors of the meeting rooms. Essentially, they're just laid out around this patio. Here you see what we've done, which was a lot of work. It looks easy, but it was a lot of work. In the existing building, of course, typically all the installations were in the corridor. I mean, you can see it here in the red. And there was a lot of installations here in the spaces on the facade. And we wanted to free up the corridor. We wanted to get more height, and we wanted to make the meeting rooms here. So this is how it was. And at the bottom, you see what it became. And here you see that sort of corridor that we made on -1 on the left, what it was before, with all the wonderful pipes and installations crossing. And on the right side, the new hallway with all the finishes. And it's quite interesting because here you can see these beautiful arched concrete floor plates. which of course here you cannot see. But we exposed it fully on that side. So now we have a really nice a corridor with a lot of daylight and a nice meeting center. On the outside, since it's a national monument, we couldn't really do much, but they built this over time, and they at one point added window frames with a wood of aluminum combination. Really, really bad looking. So we were commissioned to change the facades, and we spent a lot of time investigating old drawings essentially, and we basically restored it to the completely the original window frames, with the only difference is that you can see here it's triple glass. Of course, because of the energy requirements, we put insulation on the inside of the building. So essentially, this whole package moved inside, and we added these new marquise, this new sun shading on the outside. And here you see this this image. So we came from this image where we had, you know, here the sun shading was just a bar across the window. You know how we do that? It's terrible, but anyway, we changed it and we made it into this. And this is the final product, which was recently opened, and most likely we will in the next future we will move up through the building. So this is one building I wanted to show you, and what is nice about this is it's not so big, but we spend a lot of time on detailing, talking to the contractors, making sure that we got all the details executed properly. This is another project I want to show you. This is Lloyd. It's a housing project we did in Nijmegen. You might know, you might have seen it. It's an incredible location. Actually, the plot of the building is here, right on this green, and there you have the city of Nijmegen across the river. And we basically wanted, it was built on a Frisian mound. In Dutch it's called a terp, but in English it's called a Frisian mound. And in the mound was parking, and the buildings were supposed to be positioned on top of it. So we started off with a sort of an overview, because you have views all the way around it. But of course, this was something that the city didn't want. They didn't want this sort of big carré standing there. So we ended up making 3 different buildings with a way to meander through it. And let's see, we wanted to emphasize. So here what you can see is that the building was actually built on the terp. And we wanted to sort of emphasize the horizontal views and the horizontality of the architecture. So the building essentially is 4 stories up to 6 stories here. We wanted to use some natural facade materials, and we wanted to we basically wanted to sort of elaborate on the views that people have there. This is the floor plan of the 3 buildings. These are standing on top of a parking garage, which is inside this terp. Here you see the section. So actually you come here and you go up this terp, and then you walk through this center area from where you get to your apartments. Now, what was important with this project, and you probably will get that as you continue your profession. A long time ago, architects would be asked to do the whole design. Preliminary design, definite design, technical design, follow up through construction, you know, and you check all the samples. It's what I like. But nowadays, most often, the client says, you know what, make me a nice design, get it approved by Welstand, and then we'll get it to the contractor. Now, this was a developing contractor, a good one, by the way, Klokgroep in Nijmegen. So we were essentially commissioned to make the design and get the approval from Welstand. But we were not involved in the further execution of the drawings. So we had to spend a lot of time making sure that the drawings we made and the details we gave were actually so defined in a way that we knew that the outcome was at least close to what we had imagined. So we spent a lot of time on this project. These are some visuals of the courtyard in the middle. So these were preliminary design facades that we rendered. We presented to the city. We got approval on this, and you can see here that the facade is these horizontal bands and different heights. We have a wooden facade here. And then we also made these details, because what is important here, these balconies cantilevering about 3 meters, sometimes a bit further off the building, which you cannot do if you were simply just use you typically have a cold bridge in the Netherlands, but that kind of cantilever is not possible. So here, the structure actually is poured continuously from inside to outside, but of course when it goes outside, it needs to be insulated. So we spent a lot of time on detailing the concrete with the step down, because it was very important that we had a flat connection from inside to outside. You can imagine that if you live there, you would want to walk out instead of having to step up a terrace. And we spent a lot of time detailing these kind of edges with the glass facade, the roof pavers, This is then the high volume that we made, the high edge of the balcony. This is the low edge of the balcony. But these were all preliminary details to make sure that this image, in the end, was going to be realized. This is the wooden facade. This is made out of bamboo. Very nice material, has an excellent fire rating. And we made a small change in patterns. You see here at the bottom, it's a flat facade. And here we started to add some additional vertical lines, and here we did more. So the idea was that as you move from outside to inside, the level of detailing and shadow projection of the facade would increase to give it a sense of richness. Then we did all these studies on the different facade materials. This was one by natural stone. The client thought we were crazy. This was not possible, unfortunately. And in the end, we actually did it with a very nice material. It's a large ceramic panels. And the beauty of these ceramic panels was that you could get them made. It's made by Gamma Stone. It's a firm in Italy. And these panels can be made with a length of 4 meters. You can imagine, 4 meters is a long span. And the additional quality of it is that you can actually build a 3-dimensional panel, and I'll show you in a minute what I mean. We went through a lot of sampling. This is where we were involved still as an architect. These are some of the sampling we did. Then, of course, we went to the job site. We spent a lot of time on looking at how this was all going to get built, because you had your ceramic panels, you had your wood, you had your glass, all to make sure that in the end this was done in the right way. Here you see the mock-up. And what I meant to say is that we wanted to have a solidity in the way that these balconies edges would appear. So this piece you see in the corner actually is a 3-dimensional piece. It's built in Italy. We went to visit the store, the warehouse, I should say. But we wanted to get this sort of massive look of the wrapping of the balcony. And in the end, this is the result of this is when the building is built. So here you see the bamboo facade that we made. You see these horizontal bands in different heights meandering around the building. This is standing on one of the balconies with a view out back to the city of Nijmegen. This is the entrance to the garage, and here you can see how we imagine these horizontal lines with these large balconies with the sweeping views of the surroundings. This is actually the courtyard. So when you park your car in this terp, you come up here, and from here you then move to one of the 3 buildings to find your way to your apartment. This is the courtyard, again, from the other side. And I think this is one of the last images of this project. But why I want to show you this is because we spent a lot of time on making sure that our set of drawings and the detailing and the emphasis on the type of materials was determined in an early stage of the project. Typically, you don't go this far. But knowing that the contractor would continue, I wanted to give him a proper set of drawings and a couple of directions to make sure actually outcome, which all complements to the clock group as a contractor, was quite nice. We're quite happy with it. Then the last project I want to show you, very different project. I don't know if has anybody been here? What do you think? Thank you. Yeah, this if you haven't been here yet, you got to visit this thing. I mean, really, I call it a thing. It's not a thing. It's a building. But this is something unique in the Netherlands. And I will tell you, we were asked in 2018 to join the team that was designing this building. It is originally designed by Mad Architects, by Ma Yang-sung, brilliant architect. I mean, we met him several times, super guy. And he made his first sketch of the tornado. This is the Migration Museum, recently finished. And this is some of the original images that were made. So it's a warehouse. It's in the Katendrecht in Rotterdam. And there was this huge warehouse in 1917 built. It's called San Francisco Loods. During the Second World War, it was partly damaged. It was partly destroyed by fire. So you have now Phoenix 1 and you have Phoenix 2. This on the right side is Phoenix 2. The building was bought by Droom en Daad, and they decided to make here this migration museum, and they asked Matt to make the design. But it's also a building, it's not a heritage building, but they also wanted to make the facade as true the original as possible. So Polderman Architects, a restoration specialist, was asked to join the team. And our role on this project was we were executive architects, and that means as much as we developed the detailing, we did all the permitting, we did all the code compliances, we run the whole coordination of the team, we dealt with the contractor, and we spent about, I think, 7 years on this project with our firm. And I just wanted to show you a few images. And So this was some of the original images made by Matt. Quite an abstract volume, but intriguing. This is how it was meant to look inside this building. This is about a 170-meter long warehouse, 50 meter deep. And we got on board when these images were there. But now, okay, how now? Now we need to build this. And we need to build it in the Netherlands with all the regulations. So we put a team together that started working on this. And we developed these. These are some of the floor plans that you see. It's two routes up connected into each other. One is a bit slower. So if you are a little bit of a lazy walker, you can take one, and the other one is a bit faster. But they intertwine and they end up on the roof. It's essentially a large museum, two-story building. And in the middle is this tornado, we call it. This is, you see the floor plate within the middle, the tornado. Let's see here. This is the section through the actual tornado as we got it earlier on, and then we started working on it. And there, of course, essentially were three, I would say, technical challenges. One was, of course, the tornado. One was the glass roof, because the thing goes from inside to outside through the roof. And one was the renovation of the existing building. This was the model. And now we had to get it done. So we started working on it. We built a complete Revit model. We worked closely with some of really, really excellent Dutch engineers, EMD, Raadgevende Ingenieurs in Rotterdam. They did the engineering for this, structure engineering. Bosman did the M&E. So we built a whole Revit model based on a point cloud, because we wanted to make sure that we got all the exact heights of the building. And on the left side, you see one of the final details we've made of the actual tornado itself. There's a structure inside, and it's wrapped on the outside with a stainless steel skin. These are some of the drawings. I just want to show you the kind of drawings we've made with our team. I think this is just a piece of art. This is what I like. That's why I wanted to show you. Here is, of course, you can imagine, as you go through this project, there's a lot of things you have to figure out and work on. And there were two main contractors involved in the tornado. One was CSM, which is a Belgian firm. They made the sort of truss structure inside, and they were responsible for mounting the stainless steel panels on the truss. And CIG, which is a Dutch firm, they actually made the stainless steel panels. And what you here see is a visit to the plant of how this was meant to look. So here at the bottom, you see the inside of this stainless steel skin with these ribs. They were tack welded to the inside, and we had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how thick the wall should be, because if you make it too thin, the welds would show up. And if you make it too thick, it became too heavy. So in the end, we spent a lot of time on this. Here you see how this stainless steel skin is hung on this structure. And here you see a drawing of the glass roof. So you have to imagine you have this two-story warehouse, and at one point, this tornado comes through the roof. So we made a big opening in the roof, and we placed a completely standalone steel structure on the roof, on which we laid this glass roof through which the tornado then would come up. On the right side is the elevator. So here you have this glass roof, and the tornado comes out here, and it comes out on that side. This is one of the drawings, how the tornado then goes up from inside to outside. This was one of the original drawings. You can see it on the left bottom side. That was made by Matt. They had, of course, had an idea what they wanted to do. You know, this is the tornado going from inside outside. Of course, it had to go somehow. We had to deal with insulation, etc. I mean, you know, the basics. But now we had to make it work. So our technical guys in their office made these kind of drawings. What you see here is the same detail, but a little bit further developed. This is actually I don't know if you can see, this is the tornado going from inside outside. There is a door that closes the inside from the outside. Then, of course, this structure goes through. You had to make a panel. This is the glass facade. And everything had to move. It was very tricky independently, because the tornado was built on its own foundation, standing as up into the space. And it's connected to the glass roof, but then it's connected to the existing building. And it has different settlement conditions. So this shows a little bit the kind of details that we made then, that went to the contractor. This is one of these details. This is where you see how the tornado comes out of this glass roof. And of course, so you walk inside, then you go outside, and you walk up. Here you see the section. So you have a steel structure, a separate steel structure that supports the glass. Then this is the tornado that cuts through. Here you see the doors going out. This is a detail showing the condition from glass to the existing roof. So here on the right side is the existing building with its concrete structure and the roof. And here on the left side is the structure of the tornado. Then we have this glass roof, and all this here, this connection between the glass and the gutter and the glass roof, all had to move independently. And it had to move this way, it had to move this way. Might not be hard, it might be hard to read for you, but I just wanted to show you this to sort of see we came from the first details from Matt, and then we had to make it into something that actually would be built. And this is one of another detail, so you see of the structure. This is the glass roof here with the gutter that sits separately on top of the existing building. This is the steel structure that supports the tornado. I mean, obviously, I'm showing you these details, and you might say, well, give me a second to look at them. I'm happy to share some of these with you. But what I want to show you is the complexity of these connections, because everything had to be moving independently. This is, of course, then again, the Revit model, and here you see it quite nicely. So we had this existing warehouse, 2 stories with its foundation. Then we had this glass roof on top of it, where the tornado would come out, and in the end, it would end up in this, this sort of viewing point. Here you see the installation of the steel structure that would support the glass roof. So this is, and here you see steel structure coming up that supports the tornado. So essentially, the tornado continues here up and is supported on these legs. But of course, at one point, the tornado, you see the steel black structure comes out. And of course, then it had to be lifted up, the glass. So essentially, you would be able to get out. Of course, also there we made lots of mock-ups and we did lots of studies. With that glass is double curved surfaces. Had to have certain sizes. And here on the right side, you see ultimately then how it's all being built. This is the support structure for the glass. It's laid on these different points. You're standing inside, looking up through the tornado that actually cuts through the roof to the outside. This is a view when you stand outside looking back. So here you see the tornado comes here outside. Then here you go inside. These people, of course, are walking outside, but you see the complexity of this glass surface. And this is just sitting like a blanket on top of a structure, moving completely independent from the existing building. And this is one of the views, final views, when you stand on the roof. I find this just incredible. I mean, this cantilever is really, really big. And here you basically come up out from inside, you walk through the door, and then you're outside, and you continue your way up, and ultimately you reach the upper level of the tornado. Now, of course, we also had the existing building. And the existing building, as I said, was from 1917, so more than 100 years old. Beautiful building. I mean, the structure is mind-blowing. And what's nice about this is the size of the building. These columns are spanning, I think, in one direction, 13 meters. So it's a really nice space all to begin with. So you can imagine if you sort of have this really strong structure out of concrete with this tornado coming into it, the mix itself is already nice. One is sort of referencing to the past, the other one is referencing to the future. So the combination of the two, and this warehouse was brought back, this was how it was. A lot of things added onto it, a lot of different colors, a lot of different bricks. This is the inside. So ultimately, this whole building was stripped back to its original finishes. And how we did that, we made, together with Poleman, we made all these surveys of the facade. And we wrote down per facade element what needed to be done. Brick cleaned, new window frame or window frame restored. This project was mainly about restoration. We have not built a lot of new things. We've mainly restored a lot of the things to bring it back to the original detailing. The only thing we've done is we bought in new doors on the ground floor. So these are, I just wanted to give you a sense of the drawings we've made to document the condition of the building, that then would be given to the contractor so that the contractor actually knew what he had to do on this project. And the only thing we did actually, so we restored this brick, we restored the concrete. We only added these new doors, and that was because, of course, nowadays we have other regulations for entry and for safety, of course for installation. So that was only the new part, but the whole facade essentially was fully restored. We did build a new glass on the roof, this top level here, and we added a railing. But all the other things of this building were existing. Then we spent a lot of time sampling because at some places we needed to mimic the concrete finishes where we actually did not have the concrete. So this was some of the outcome of that process. And this is the space. So ultimately, and that's why I say I think you really have to go there, because I think the tornado is interesting, but the building itself, this is un-Dutch. And to be entering a warehouse of this size, just to get an idea of the quality and the impact, spatial impact. When I walked here the first time, I was like, wow, this is sort of like you sort of inhale an air in your lungs in a way that you haven't done in a long time. So this is the space. So you see here that all the concrete was cleaned up. A really interesting, nice detailing, all kept in place. We had to add these large window frames in here to make these different compartments. But essentially on the first floor, it's one gigantic space with 2 glass walls in it in the middle of the tornado. And on the left and on the right side, you have these large exhibit spaces. These are the doors. And of course, this all had to be flush in the floor. Of course, flat. But you can imagine if a building goes like this, that's quite challenging. But we managed. This is a couple of photographs of the construction. Here you see the progress of the steel construction. The first elements have been mounted. This is actually one of the entrances. When you walk into the building of the tornado, there's 2. You enter from 2 sides. And from either entrance, you're welcomed by one of these stairs as you can go up to the building. Here you see the tornado in space, standing and going up. And in the end, I thought was really interesting because it ends on a terrace. And on the terrace, there is this really nicely shaped little asymmetrical head. And it was decided that the head needed to be made in one piece. It needed to be transported. So in the end, it came across the river, and it was hoisted by one crane. I mean, it was a fantastic event to witness. So they actually took this all the way from the shop, brought it on, and then they had a huge crane, and they just picked it up, and they stuck it on top of, of the elevator, which is quite nice to experience. Here you see it from afar. So here you see the warehouse. You see the glass roof that I just showed you, which we built, this new glass we put in. Here the tornado as it comes up, and of course this viewing point. These are some images, and maybe you've noticed, but here the finish on this stainless steel is different than some of the other parts. And that is because of the effect of hotspots, or you can imagine, if you know spyglass, if you take a sun and you put your spyglass in the air, you can actually burn a hole in something. So there was a study made to avoid having that effect, because you can either burn the building or you can build something, burn something on a different place. So we had to sand part of the inside to give it a matte finish to avoid that type of effect. This is where you actually see the tornado coming out. This is the detail I showed you originally. So here you see this glass. This is the steel structure supporting the glass. There is the structure that is actually supporting that structure again. And here you have the door. And then here, it's hard to see, but this here is actually a mirrored surface that closes the glass up to the door. So that's just kind of details. And in the end, you have to realize all this has to move independently. And that's why I wanted to show you this, because I think that's quite an interesting aspect of this project. And this is when you stand on top of this viewing platform, all the way on top, underneath this asymmetrical hoedje, as we call it. And this is the tornado as you would see it if you would go to Rotterdam and you would enter it from one side. The entrance to the building is here. And you walk into the hallway, and then you are sort of welcomed by this big stair, and then you move up to the space. And this is one of the final images made by a photographer of the final result as it is sitting now in the city of Rotterdam along the water. It's also the final image I wanted to show you. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. On top of the stairs, there are 2 people with a phone thingy to give you my future points. So please make a line up to the stairs to scan your student card. And thank